Rebellion, mob mentality, and political corruption are a few of the main themes Persona 5 touches on all throughout. Persona 5 is the best RPG of the last decade. Can't beat around the bush here. 2017 was an amazing year for games, but Persona 5 is more than just a game. It's a 90-hour or even a 150-hour escapade that changed how I look at games. Oh hey man, take a seat. God, I'm not cool enough to sit next to him. Set in modern-day Japan, Akira is a kid framed for assault when he tried to stop a man from forcing himself on a woman. He's charged and put on probation and sent away to be taken care of by Sojiro, who is a family friend. Akira attends a new high school and somehow the entire school knows about what he did, supposedly assaulted someone, and he's seen as an outcast. He discovers a world parallel to our own, that's manifested by monsters and must be fought off with the use of personas. There's tons of lore behind these things, but the game explains them much better than I could in a short review. Anyways, Akira teams up with a group of fellow outcasts to form the Phantom Thieves, who steal the hearts of criminals to make them confess to their crimes by using the other world to do so. Their group becomes famous, but their identities remain anonymous since their methods are untraceable. The story of Persona 5 can take a while to get going, but the characters are really fleshed out with a lot of purpose and reasoning behind their actions, and Akira is a pretty cool silent protagonist and has some nice lines. Hey Akira, I'll let you play if you get me a drink.
I am thou, thou art I.
So talking about gameplay is a massive undertaking, so it'll be divided into 3 categories. First, personas. Second, living your life as a high school teenager visual novel. And then finally, the combat. Let's start with the combat because it lays the foundation for the rest of the gameplay. It's turn-based combat, and the gimmick is you typically find an enemy's weakness first, and then hit them with the weakness to knock the enemy down, and to give yourself another turn. This works both ways though, meaning you and your party also have set weaknesses that you can be hit with, and when the enemy hits one of your weaknesses, they get another turn. When all of the enemies are knocked down, you can perform an all-out attack, dealing massive damage to all of them, and for the most part wiping all of them out. So this seems simple now, but let's talk about why Persona 5 hits you with some of the best turn-based RPG combat. So personas are who you do battle with. You can create and strengthen personas using other personas. They have strengths and weaknesses, but making sure all the personas you possess are up to snuff is vital. You want to be on top of creating the strongest personas you can throughout the whole game by crafting and building your confidants. We'll talk about what confidants are in just a second. Next, while living your teenage life, you are essentially building you and your party members' skill trees for combat. You have 5 stats of charm, knowledge, guts, kindness, and proficiency. But these stats aren't for combat actually. You also have confidants, which are your relationships with most of the game's characters. See, you have 16 confidants. Each confidant consists of 10 ranks. Every rank grants bonus XP when creating personas, and some ranks come with buffs for you and your party. A super simple example is Ryuji. Ryuji's confidant is referred to as the Chariot Arcana. At rank 2, Ryuji gains the ability to follow up one of your attacks if your attack is a critical or the enemy's weakness. Other kinds of buffs and abilities include store discounts, upgrades to your party's guns, and being able to swap out party members. Also, we mentioned those 5 stats just a bit ago: charm, knowledge, guts, kindness, and proficiency. These stats are required to hit certain confidant ranks. For example, rank 2 for On requires level 2 kindness. These stats can also be used to boost your other stats. For example, knowledge is used to determine how well you'll do on your exams. Doing well on your exams boosts your other stats and helps you do more confidants. So, palaces are where the combat aspect of the game take place. They are several floor dungeons with puzzles laid throughout them. Design-wise, they represent an antagonist's cognition. Unlike past Persona games, these dungeons aren't auto-generated. They are completely unique in design and layout, and so are all of the enemies inside. You have a set amount of days to infiltrate a palace and steal the treasure to whomever the palace belongs to. Stealing this treasure causes whomever the palace belongs to confess to their crimes and atone for their sins. So, you can use the days given before a deadline to infiltrate or to build your stats outside of the dungeon. How far you can go in a single day is really determined by your SP management. SP is basically your mana, and there are very few ways to regenerate it in a single day. Your personas use up mana or SP for magic use, and if you run too low on SP, you won't be able to make much progress and you'll have to bow out and come back to the palace the next day. When you find a treasure, you also need to evoke the shadow of the antagonist by sending them a calling card telling them what's about to happen. Then you fight a boss and then more story progresses. Rolling Rock? What are you, some kind of wise guy? Whatever, sit down. Here, get all the playtime you wanted now. Atlas won't let you be on camera past November. Let's talk design, because we can't ignore the amazing display of design and flair that's been hitting you throughout this entire video of the game. The theme of rebellion bleeds heavily into the game's design, and so does the overall dark tone of the game. Every transition, the font, shapes, colors, patterns, design, basically everything you see was designed so with confidence and purpose and intent. I never talked about the design in any of the other 16 reviews because none of them have much more to say about them than what I can show through gameplay, but Persona 5 hits you with so much flair it's unprecedented. If this is going over the heads of anyone, I'm not saying every game needs flair and a solid dedication to one color, but I am saying that if a game has minimal UI design, it better be intentional and its purpose better be reflected through its story and gameplay like it is in Persona 5. Hell yeah, man! Oh, I knew you could do it! Man. Whew. I'll be honest, I just hired you so you could beat this level for me. Well, thanks, man. I guess I could trust you with my entire fucking life now. Persona 5 is a balancing act between design, gameplay, and story. All of these components interweave and bolster one another to their absolute bests. These guys have been refining the Persona formula for a decade and weren't afraid to really change things up. I was actually so in love with Persona 5 I went and got Persona 4 and beat that as well and started Persona 3. Persona 5 steals my Game of the Year choice and Game of the Decade choice. Persona 5 gets a 5 out of 5. Thanks for watching, guys. I appreciate your guys' support, and I would really encourage you to take a look at my Patreon and also follow me on Twitter. That's it for me for the year, but expect more videos just like this one in the near future.